Hey, hey! It's another edition of the show, folks, and I am so uber excited to bring on today's guest. Let's just talk about where she's coming from. Boston. I don't even know how to do that right. Boston. It's a home to, I think, 35 colleges and universities. It's the place to be if you're going to want to expand your potential. We've got Harvard, we got MIT, we got Boston University, we got Northeastern. The list will go on for a while, but one of them specifically exists to train the people who hold Boston's most vulnerable communities together. I think the human services professions, that human services infrastructure, the rest of those 35 schools completely depend on and oftentimes kind of ignore, right? So Dr. Yves Salomon-Fernández is the president of Urban College Boston, a TEDx speaker, right? Builder in the sector
Yes,
most
yeah.
definitely in demand today. Yves, welcome to the show, my friend.
Dr. Joe, thank you so much for having me. And I've been having quite a morning because we have all the commencements happening in Boston right now, and people are just so happy. But traffic is
But
a little
traffic, it's
hectic.
kind of stuck, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Fantastic. Hey, I, I,
What a
I want to
morning.
hit you right where you're at right now. Just tell me, you're coming into the end of a academic year. It's been an interesting year.
Yes,
What is it like to be
yes.
the college president right now in your seat?
So I'll be honest, leading a small college in these times is really hard, as you already know. That's the work that you do with colleges and universities and K-12 areas. So you know what it's like, both folks coming into the pipeline as well as the working adults. So it's tough, but I have to say it is also the most hopeful
Hmm.
thing to be doing in these times, because not only are we giving hope to humanity, to the folks who come to us, but we're also giving them
Yeah.
agency. So we're helping them to get the tools and the skills to not only improve their lives, but to also make the world a better place and to make contributions to society, to industry, and overall to our world and to their communities. So it's a good time to be in the work that we are doing, and for the students for whom and with whom we work
I
every
can
day.
feel that. I can feel that. You show up in so many places and you just exude this bright light. And if there was a word, I'd say hope. You just exude hope
Thank you.
to all of humanity. But let's put your context on the table here. I think the national conversation, right, about higher education, it's dominated by the enrollment cliffs. It's dominated by just all
Yes,
the yuck going on, and you bring the yum. You bring the yum of
yes,
potential
yes.
and opportunities, but let's think about the conversation, the human services education that you are providing to so many across your sector, counseling, social work, community care. It's almost completely absent. It's not really part of that narrative or the disruptive story. It's not part of the workforce development
Absolutely.
story, but it's a part of your story. Tell us about what's going on and how that's so very unique across your sector.
Absolutely. So the hope you're sensing, I am reflecting
Mm,
it. It's because I see
mm,
it and I deal with it every day. So Urban College of Boston, we are a 2-year private college, and our legacy programs have been in early childhood education and human services. And we provide instruction not only in English, but also in Spanish, in Chinese, in
oh my goodness.
Portuguese, with a peppering of courses in Haitian Creole. So we are helping folks for whom English is their first and native language and only language. And we are also providing instruction and student support services in these other languages. So students come here no matter where you are in the continuum of English language proficiency. You may be highly proficient, or you are working through it to another language, and you come in and you are able to get the skills to thrive and to achieve the American dream. We set you on a path to
You
achieve the
think about
American
just
dream.
the working adults, you've got immigrants, you've got first generation students, people that
Absolutely.
are just like trying to
Absolutely.
figure out how do we make this thing work here? And you're like customer service. Here we are.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Number one. So yeah. So first generation students, immigrants, and also when we look at human services. So most people don't know what human services is, and most people tend to think of social workers, one of the careers that exists within the umbrella of human services. But we also have folks who work in elder care. So as we look at the silver tsunami right now, we have so many people who are
Easy,
retiring. People,
easy.
yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a look. It looks great on you. Yeah, I would be
I've never
calling
heard
you
that
part of the
term before,
silver.
the silver
You're a
tsunami.
fox. You're a
Come on.
silver fox. You're a silver fox. You're a silver fox. Very handsome. But I mean, honestly, but it is what we are facing right now. We have so many people who are getting older, and as we think about living vibrant lives in our older ages, people are living longer. How do we make sure that we have folks who can care for them, not just for their physical health, but also their mental health? And we also have families, as we are dealing with right now, with so many people who are financially vulnerable. We do have a lot of issues that raising the cost for economically vulnerable populations and people who are also experiencing trauma in their families. So how do we prepare the other
Mhm.
folks who are going to help them come through the other side and also fulfill their full potential as humans? So self-realize and get on a path to economic self-sufficiency. So we do that for our students who are mostly working adults, and we also help to do that for the most vulnerable in society across the age range. So yes, human services are really important. And even though there's a lot of things that technology is helping us to enhance, to do better, and is replacing, it cannot replace the humans. And the early childhood education work that we do for the youngest kids who are growing up, it's also very important. So things like developing your fine and motor and gross motor skills, and also helping students get a really strong academic foundation as they begin their academic journey. All those things are really important. So Urban College is engaged in that deeply
You
human
said
work.
foundation, and I think the work that you're doing is foundational, right? It is foundational. Here's the
Absolutely.
interesting twist. We've done over 100 of these podcasts now. You're the first Haitian American that I've had on the show. I
Oh,
That's a
oh
huge
wow.
congratulations,
Wow.
and you add to that, just this interesting twist of Ph.D., TEDx speaker. You've stood on stages in front of audiences who have never set foot in a classroom, perhaps, right? Like the ones that you
Yeah.
run. How has that specific, your lived experience kind of informed that heartbeat that you have of hope, but also your strategic acumen to put together where you're going and how we're going to get there?
Oh, Joe, it's something that I think is second
Mm,
nature to me. So for me, I came to the US at the age of 12. I didn't speak a word of English. And I spoke two languages, French and Haitian Creole, learned Spanish and English in this country, and got to achieve the American dream via higher education. So I know what it's like to be the person who lives at the cusp, who wants to achieve that. And having grown up also at that time in a neighborhood in Boston where there were mostly African Americans, I also got to see how there were so many people who've been in this country for generations who have been outside of that economic prosperity that we've experienced as a country. So those things really helped shape my identity, my thinking, my social and political consciousness to see coming in as someone who's coming from outside and I want to achieve the American
mhm,
dream and I have a path. Yet there's so many who've been here for generations who've not been able to achieve that. So thinking about those things and also thinking about the rural whites, because as you know, I spend quite a bit. I spend my weekends in in the rural part of our state. So it's seeing all of those things, regardless of identities, that people just want to
mm,
self-actualize. So on that aspect of it, the personal aspect of it, I am very driven by those realities that of when I started and where I am today. And in terms of my academic background, I think having a background in political science, economic, and statistics, you just approach the work. I approach the work very differently, and I'm also looking across those dimensions. So my epistemological orientation very much informs how I approach the work, how I do the work, and then you layer on the personal. And you add the fact that I also work with an incredible team of people who bring their own journeys and experiences and have this really phenomenal board. So I would say, in a lot of ways, Urban College is formidable, and we get to do the work that we do with such incredible students who have great unrealized potential and also great assets
Love
that
that.
they bring, even as they work on the areas where they
I
need to
love
get
that.
stronger. So I have the
The
best job
work
ever.
that you get to do. I don't I don't feel that. This time of the year, people are fragmented, people are isolated, they're feeling burned out. I don't hear that often enough. It's the work that we get to. Yes, the pain is there, but it's a privilege because it's the okay, this, I don't want to
Absolutely.
sound too woo-woo, but did this profession find you or did you find the profession?
Oh, it found me for
Mm,
sure, for sure.
mm.
I think it was a combination of where the economy was in 2007, and also yeah, I think it was mostly, yeah, it was mostly the economy. I actually saw myself as a policy person who was going to go back into K-12 policy because that's where I came from the world of large scale assessment, psychometrics, and really wanted to bring my psychometrician and statistical skills back into the policy world, but there were no jobs. So higher ed was where I found myself. Never aspired to be a college president until I was basically given the opportunity. It was like, hey, it's you. The board has chosen you as the interim. So
The door
yeah,
was
I took
open,
it.
and now you're
Yes,
holding that door open for others, and that's the other beautiful thing.
precisely,
That's the other.
precisely. So hopefully, I am not your last Haitian
I hope
American,
not.
and I can help you find them.
It
Yes,
no, it's
yes.
not gonna happen. We're gonna multiply
Well,
that
thanks for
magic.
having me.
Multiply. So,
Yes.
my honest read on the human services education in this country, and I don't study it as deeply, and I don't use the fancy words that you do. I'm having a hard time just I'm renting space in the
Okay,
vocabulary
Dr.
words.
Joe.
Seriously. The sector that trains care workers is I think it's chronically underfunded. Am I on base there?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
chronically understudied. We don't understand it enough, right? And
Yep,
chronically
yep.
absent from just the major conversations about we're talking about AI, we're talking about innovations and technology, but we're not look at our students today. I walked through an airport yesterday and it's sobering just to see humankind and the weight that people are walking with. So
Yeah,
when
it's hard.
you think about when you're leading urban college and thinking about putting your blueprint together for 26, 27, what is the evidence really showing? What is moving the dial? Don't talk to me about philosophy. Talk to me about results. What's moving the dial for you right now?
For right now, one, it's seeing students and letting them know that they
Mm,
belong. Because first generation students, we know they come to college with a sense of, I don't know if I can do this. I've been told all my life I'm not college material. So how do you help them to build the confidence that that they can do it? And how do you help them to build community and also help them see the end path? What is it that you want to achieve? And I like the fact that you said we're not using big words. And I say this to our team all the time. We're not using academies. You've got legalese, we've got academies. We need to speak language that students actually understand. So I would say I'm a lot more colloquial because I want you to understand what I'm saying and not be confused and also not be too afraid to say, I don't understand this word. I don't know what a bursar does. I don't know what a registrar does exactly,
right.
right? The place where you pay and the place where you
There it is. Let's
register.
use functional language. I always say, don't make it
Exactly.
too cute. If you have a horse for sale, say, I have a horse for sale, right?
That's right. And I say to people all the time, would your grandmother understand what you're saying?
Mm.
So if your grandmother doesn't understand this, let's go back. And in statistics, those were the same principles that I was taught.
So my
If your
guess
grandmother,
is you're a leader who understands how important just clear language is within the system. You come into a system having the ability to speak multiple languages, but I think it's the leader's responsibility to take all that's so complex and make it as simple
yes,
as possible so it scales across the entire, not just your team, it scales across the employee group, the faculty group, and all the way to the student group. How are you taking the complexities of your work right now and moving it into the simplicities of language? Are there any examples of that?
we go back to the core: access,
Hmm.
equity, and outcomes. That's it.
That's it. Keeping it simple so it
Yes.
does
So,
scale.
if, yeah, if language is not accessible, If they don't understand what we're saying, they can't get through. Second, are we achieving the same outcomes and giving the same access to everyone equitably? We're not giving everyone the
Yeah.
same thing. We're giving you what you
What do you
actually need to
need?
succeed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then third, what is our promise to students and are we delivering on that promise?
Boom,
That's it.
boom. And then
That's it.
sustaining that.
Simple.
Anybody can get there,
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
sustaining it for the
Sustaining and
next
scaling.
and the next and the next, and it just
Exactly.
becomes the way
Exactly.
that we work together. What is still not working that you are working to fix? Let's just have a real honest exchange here for a minute. It's easy to talk about the things that are working, but can we have an honest
Yeah.
exchange about the things that we're not there yet?
So the fancy word that we use is social capital. The not fancy word is it's more an explanation. It's the what students need to know and have to be successful in the workforce. So it's understanding that a credential alone is not
Mm,
enough. So what else do they need to know and to have to be successful? So that's why we invest in talking to students about how you show up at work, professional etiquette. So if you're not sending your faculty member a professionally well-written email, um, most likely in the workforce, you will continue that behavior. You may not know. So how do we create norms around communication with students and from students internally so that we're beginning to train them and help them to get those skills? They're first generation. I didn't
right.
know, so I had to learn that somewhere. Professional aesthetics. How do you show up at work? How do you work at work? Building friends and network at work. So for a lot of low-income students and low-income people, will say, "Oh, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to get the job done."
Hey, friends, quick question before we get back to it. I know that you have talented people on your leadership team, but is your team actually performing to its full potential? Most aren't, and most don't know why. The Team Intelligence Assessment is a solution to change that. Find out where your team stands at higherperformancegroup.com. Go to find your starting point to get started today, or click the QR code in the screen right here. All right, back to the show.
You still need to make friends. The people who are in the rooms where you're not, they need to know that you exist. It's not just
So
you
true.
knowing them. They need to know that you exist and they need to know the quality of your work so that they can speak favorably about you when they have opportunities or challenges or a good work product, a good work project to be given that they can say, you know what? Joe has consistently overperformed, outperformed on every task I have given him. So I'm going to recommend that we give this to Joe. And I might raise my hand and say, Eve has done a great job too. So yes, we'll pick Joe, but we remember
Mm-hmm.
Eve. So the next
Mm-hmm.
task, Eve gets it, right? So helping them to understand those things and to leverage technology, right? LinkedIn. Do you use LinkedIn? No. How do you use LinkedIn? How do people know after you've left a job that you still exist and that you're open to work? It's not just a little sign. So things like that, that most of us, you don't learn in a textbook, right?
So yes, and I think it's the value add. It's the value. We are. I heard a college president talking just yesterday about we are graduating way too many students with certificates into an impoverished world. Right? We're graduating students into poverty because they don't
Yep.
have
Yep.
that distinctive advantage to be able to operate within just the ecology of scarcity. And so you're teaching your students to show up, right?
That's
To
right.
be
That's right. That's right.
self-aware, to be
That's right.
self-managed, to be compassionate, to be maybe at times even less of who they really are, because that's not what's on the other side of them. It's to see the other as other and to love that. That's not on a course
Yeah.
outline. That's not
Yeah.
on a syllabus.
Yeah.
That's in the hearts of the people that
Exactly.
are interacting with your people.
Yeah. And I would say to that point, one of the things that we've been talking about lately is also code switching, right? For
Teach
people
me,
who
teach
are,
me that. Yeah.
yeah. So code switching is usually in communities that are more racially or ethnically diverse. So when I first came to this country, people talked about it in terms of Ebonics, right? In some communities, it's Black colloquial language, right? Black vernacular. In say Spanish-speaking world, it might be Spanglish. In Haitian Creole, it might be Kranglish, right? So those are sort of like language based, but also it's a behavior. It's knowing in certain communities where you may or may not be accepted based on your how you show up, the words that you use, your diction, and also in rural communities, right? In white communities, every community has sort of its special language, but in the professional world, it's typically the King's English, and also there is a class element to it. So I have one of my children went to very fancy elite schools. And so you see the code switching, right? Even his behavior, what he wears, how he comports himself, knowing how certain behaviors are accepted in one setting versus other setting. The reality is that we all
Is
code
this
switch,
something
right?
that do we teach this? Do we teach how to code
We don't
switch,
teach
or is this
this.
something just
No,
innate within us?
well, it's sort of like communities that have historically generally been marginalized because of their ways of being, right? And I would say even in the Northeast, for instance, right? Sometimes when I first came here, you would hear someone speak with a Southern drawl, and you would automatically form a
Real
certain opinion of
biased.
them. And usually it's not
Yeah.
exactly, it's not a positive one. So people learn to conform. And Black folks have been doing that for a very long time. And rural folks have been doing that. And so many folks have been doing that. LGBTQ folks have been doing that for a very long time, right? So it's being your authentic self, finding ways to be your authentic self, not to suffocate yourself, but also to understand what might work in one environment versus another environment, and also when and how do you begin to be your full self, and also realizing what works in a professional environment or in a particular setting that may not work in a particular setting. So part of it is teaching our students, but also part of it is teaching employers that sometimes there is bias. So in the work that we do in corporate and nonprofit training, we try to help people understand like this is a biased way, because you may have someone who is very talented, but because we're trained to have people show up in a certain way, look a certain way, speak a certain way, behave a certain way, react in a certain way, we are biased when we see something that is different, that is cognitively, that causes us to have that cognitive recalibration, or actually we want them to recalibrate, but to have that, to recognize that cognitive dissonance.
It's gonna create
And
some internal tension, and how do you
that's
effectively
right,
work
that's
through
right,
that
that's
is
right, that's
something
right.
that
And
they
it's just
need to
because you're not
experience.
familiar with it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because you're not familiar with it, it's not a reflection of intelligence. But how do we teach our students, this is how you may be received, you will be received, this is how you can work with that. And in the corporate and nonprofit training work that we do, work with employers to say you have talent, and talent may look like this, it may not look like your experience. Or in tech, right, bro culture, right? And if someone doesn't know bro culture and the code and the language, you may be ostracized. You may not be given the same opportunities because you're not part of that
There's a
culture.
whole different
So
level
part of
of
it,
energy when we got into this topic. This is something that you'll
yeah,
teach
I'm
them,
very passionate about it
experience, but
because
also
I live,
passionate. I can just feel it. I can feel the weight of the
yeah,
importance here, and just so
yeah,
excited and encouraged that is a distinctive advantage of being a part of
yes,
your
absolutely.
community there. Give me a sense.
Yeah. And Joe, let me
Yes,
say
yes.
something. I appreciate your curiosity, because most people, you say code switching and they're like, ooh, let me step back. Like,
I'm gonna
how do I get
fake
out of
like
the
I
room
know what you're talking
very
about,
quickly?
because
But you got very
yeah,
curious. Yeah, I
thank you.
love that. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So give me a sense of where you're going. Not you personally, but Urban College of Boston. Let's just say it's 2031. 2031. What are we going to see that might be a little bit different, or what are we going to see that's going to be a little bit better? I believe that a strategic
Yes,
plan, we could
yes,
code switch that language. I would call it continuous
yes.
improvement, right? Continuous improvement.
Yeah.
What are we going to see happening on campus in 2031 that is, being prepared for today?
We're going to see more graduates. We're
Come
going
on.
to see more graduates graduate more
Come
quickly.
on.
We're going to see employers who are going to say, I want urban college graduates, and put them on the top of our list. We're going to see people who are achieving socioeconomic mobility, who have moved up the ladder several times since they graduated. We're going to see families where higher education becomes a legacy, that their kids are not the first to go to college, but they continue that legacy. And we're going to have employees who are fulfilled, who love the work, who feel like I am making a meaningful difference. And this is what I wake up every day to do. And we're going to have a board that is very happy and very satisfied and feels like, yes, this is what we give our strategic thinking, our direction, and our energies to, and we're making a huge measurable difference.
And we're going to see a president that does not have preferred parking because you give that stuff away to your best people on campus, right? Humble, hungry, smart. That's the other thing that I just envision when I think about you. We're going to go into quick fire now. Okay. Lightning round.
Okay.
I want to hear what your favorite quote might be.
Yes. So my favorite quote is, fear is having the courage to face the fear and do it anyway. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's something like that. That is the one that I'm leaning into. But treat others as you want to be treated. That's like
that is a golden rule. Yeah. So good. Yeah. So good. We're going to go best and worst. So first I want to hear worst. We're going to get that out of the worst advice that you've ever received or observed about leading people.
I would say it's pitting people against each other. I watch the behavior, and
unfortunately you actually watched that behavior.
Yeah, I was part of that behavior. I was a victim, I would say, of that behavior. But it taught me a lot. Yeah. So it wasn't, I'm a big observer. And it was that. I think that was probably, it's not something that was explicitly said, but it was the consistency of that behavior. And I think it was implicit advice, observation that I said to myself that will never.
Let's change the soundtrack now to the best advice.
Be you. And when I was first given that advice, again, I wasn't leaning into the colloquialism. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but it's really about showing up authentically and just being
I thought
you.
that was maybe an unpaid advertisement for a local university in your neighborhood. Be you.
Yes, whoever it is.
We want some endorsements, folks, right? How about, is there anything that you've changed your mind about recently?
Oysters and tattoos.
Like good or bad?
They're good, but I'm discriminating. Not anywhere. And tattoos. I get a tattoo too.
There it is. Is that it?
Yes, love to infinity.
Is that the infinity loop?
Yes, it is love to infinity. It's for my husband and my children.
I love that. I use that sign for knowing yourself to lead yourself. Like you never get to graduate. So you can steal that. You never get to graduate.
Knowing yourself and knowing yourself.
How about a decision in your career that you'd make 10 times over again?
Taking the presidency
right there.
When it was off.
Right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're doing coffee, are we Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Dunkin's. Hello, what kind of question is that? I mean, come on.
All right, fair. If you weren't running a college, what would you be doing?
I would be a marine biologist chasing sharks full time. I do that in my spare time, but I would be doing that full time. That's my dream job. Yeah,
I love it.
For sure.
I love it. How about a word or a phrase? Urban college future.
Ooh. Okay. So we talked about access, but I am going to say the word agentic, not in an AI.
I was just going to say, we're going there.
Okay, I'm going to say agency. How about that? Got agency. We're going to land on agency. Yes, agency. Agency for our entire community, for our learners, for our graduates, for our employees, for our board. So to have the ability to make things happen. Agency.
In all fairness, you want to turn the mic? You want to ask me a question?
Yes. I want to know what you would be doing if you weren't doing this.
Well, if it wasn't this, it would be some form of this. I forged.
What? No, that's not a real answer.
Well, a calling is a calling. I don't care where I'm at. My calling is to amplify the brilliance of other people. That is my compliment.
And you do that
And,
so
and and it
well.
doesn't matter. I could be an Uber driver and just taking intense interest in my passenger, and asking questions. I love just being able to really see the potential in another and help them see that as well. Because unfortunately, most of us get locked by just some of that interference between our ears, and we start believing the lies about us that just are not true. Just are not true. So that's
Yeah.
what I would be doing. Maybe swimming around in a marine biology tank with you there too.
I don't go in a tank. Open
Open
water.
water.
Open water. No
Okay.
tank.
Okay.
Yes. Open water.
I, I love the
Yes.
real exchange. I love your encouragement. I love your passion. I love your purpose. I think the lesson that we're pulling from this really is the prestige economy. It runs the world right now. And we just
Yeah.
don't see
Yeah.
enough of the real, live, honest, genuine people that are doing the work, getting the light. So I think, Eve, you've spent, I'm not going to say how many years, but you've spent a bucket load of years, right? Just proving those theories wrong. And you've ended up in a place that is doing the good work. So I think if you're a president, if you're a chancellor, if you're an emerging leader in higher ed or K-12, and just see that maybe there's some things that you'd like to accomplish. This is somebody that came new to our country and now is sitting in an office that all of us would aspire to. So if you can lock that into your head and think that if Eve did this, we all can do it. Probably with a little help from our friends.
With support.
Yeah,
With
with that
support.
support.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
really what
Yeah.
I'm pulling away from this exchange
Aw.
today. I'm glad that you worked your way through traffic to make it to the show here today. And best you as you're graduating, or as you have commencement
Yeah.
here coming
Yes.
up towards the end of the month, right?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. On the 30th. We're excited.
Fantastic.
It's going to be a great
Well,
time.
you teach us all to keep our dukes up, and that's how I usually end this show. So dukes up, folks. Peace.
All right.
Let's all
Thanks.
stay healthy.
All right.